Okay, now it says I'm live. Okay, that was weird. Can you hear that? Okay, Brennan's here, Jesse's here. Eric's here. Oh, wait a little while. Yep. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, I'll use the phone if I need it a little bit later. Let's see what you're listening to. It's in the description, but it's Matt Bradford Music on Instagram. No lyrics. He just jams on that custom guitar he's got. Raining in Maryland. All righty. Well, we don't have anything here except sunshine. Lots and lots of sunshine. And sometimes it gets overcast, but right now there's lots of sunshine. Yeah, I'm not monetizing this or these live streams anymore, so I'm going to play music in the introduction or when I'm waiting a few minutes. I'll try anyway. Okay. John Turner. Sunny and 80 degrees in central Texas. Yikes. Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about the hot weather. It's supposed to turn cold soon in the south, but right now you guys have early springtime. Okay, so I got some things that I wanted to do during the live stream, channel news type of stuff, mostly from this book, Yahi Archery. I'll be showing you pictures of Ishi and the way he shoots his arrows and some of that stuff. This is a copy. It's in the public domain now, this book. It's from, I think the original book was put out in 1918, something like that. And this has got a lot of photocopies, poor quality photocopies. So you can't see the fine detail, but you can get the gist of it. The original book is expensive, very, very expensive. So I just bought like a cheap copy off the internet. Yeah. Off of Amazon, or maybe it was some other outlet. I forget now. But yeah, it's all photocopies. Basically, it's just photocopied and put into a book form. Let's see. All right, so it might be early for some people to join in. We've got like 12, 14 people. Yeah. YouTube won't strike me for the music. No, not if I put the link in it, and if not if I demonetized. I'm demonetized right now for the video, so I'm not using it for commercial purposes. And I put a link in the description to where this is from. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be okay. If I do get a copyright strike, I won't be able to do it again. So, but only one strike is not gonna hurt anything. Howdy, Jesse. Yeah, let's see. Let me see if I can open this up. I put cardboard back there so it wouldn't be so bright behind me. But there's snow out there. Can't see it. Yeah, it's too bright. The sun is very bright. Okay. I got my bowstring making material out also. I was going to do some live sinew twisting, but nah. Let's see. You inspired me to play my acoustic guitar without lyrics at open mics. I don't feel so naked if I don't sing. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, just type in Matt Bradford Music, all one word, on Instagram if you want to know what I was listening to. All right, so let's see. We got what I was doing earlier is trying to get a scale on all these items in this picture. See that? It's got the Ishi stick, or supposedly, up on top, and Ishi's knapping tools and arrowheads and preforms and stuff. Okay? Some of you have not seen this book. These are supposed to all be to scale, but I was doing some calculations, and it appears that these photos were cut and pasted together, so they're not all the same scale. They're kind of close, but they're not to the same scale. And then there's descriptions down here, and the measurements listed here do not match the measurements up here. Okay? Perfect example is this one right there, number 13. Okay, number 13, it's 6 millimeters wide and 13 millimeters long, measuring it straight from the picture itself. That gives you the proportions, right? So it's twice as long as it is wide. All right. Now, down here in the description for number 13, it says length 1 inch, width 11/16 inches, which is a little bit different. Okay, it's slightly off when you do the proportions. Okay, I was looking at doing the conversions from millimeters to inches. All right, so 6 millimeters wide in the picture compared to 13 millimeters wide and long in the picture. It's more than twice as long. It's just a little bit more than twice as long. All right. Here, 11/16 inch width. If you double that, it's 22/16, which is more than an inch. Okay. So either these measurements are off, but the pictures are also off from each other. Anyway, I'd spent a long time trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to give you accurate dimensions on all these tools. What I'm going to do is just give you rough estimates based on what I've recorded. Who else is here? Anybody else here? Oh, I'm missing some of the chat. Hold on. Let's see. Interesting. None of those projectiles shown have the narrow entry notches like I always see when I see a picture of his stuff. Yeah, there are some narrow entry notching, but they're not on this one here. You're right on that, right? Let's see. I can't see, but yeah, these are, where my finger? There it is. These over here on your I guess it's on your right side. Anyway, I'll try to hold it still so you can get a good look. Now, that's not all the arrowheads that he has on display. Oh no. You can actually go to the museum and look, which is something that Steve Aleli did, and he made some illustrations that are a lot more accurate. Okay? In this book. Traditional Boyer's Bible, Volume 4. Now, I'm not supposed to show too much from this book because it is under copyright. However, I'm going to show you a brief snapshot of more detailed pictures of Ishi's arrowheads. Okay, I'm going to try to hold it still. Okay, these are not to scale either. They are to scale to each other. But in the book, this scale right there, that thing, that's not an inch when I measure it. It's supposed to be an inch long, right? But when I measure it with a ruler or a tape measure, it's not an inch long in the book. So you got to do a conversion. When I did the conversion, I did it on one of them. See that one right there? This one? That one is 3.5 inches long by 27/32 of an inch wide. I think you might be able to see my writing. Right? Yeah, and you can look at the notching. The only one that has, well, there's a couple that have narrow entry, E and B. Well, D has it on one side. There's also these up here. If you look at S, that has narrow entry. The one with the pink mark, or these two that have pink marks on top, I reproduced those. That's why I got the marks there. I made reproductions. They are extremely difficult to do. Okay? Because you need a very strong pressure flaker. And I think he did those with steel. Why? Because this pressure flaker right here has steel on both ends. All right? That's from his kit. It has steel nails on both ends. And a steel tip on this one also. That's a pressure flaker there. This one here, that's a bone vertical punch. And this is the mallet used to hit that vertical punch. Okay? How long is this? Let's see. I'll do the conversion on it. In the picture, the overall length is 65 millimeters, but the conversion, let me see. I'll get you the inches here in a second. So it's 65 millimeter times the conversion factor. Let me see here. All right, when I'm doing this, I can't think. So let me try this. Yeah, conversion factor is 0.119. So it is 7 3/4 inches long. All right. The handle itself, 51 times 0.119, 6 inches. 6-inch handle on that one. So that means there's like an inch on each side for the steel nails. And it's fully wrapped with some kind of cordage or rawhide. I'm talking about this one up here. It is illustration number 2. See, I put the actual millimeters when I measured it in the book. You know, that's the size of it in the book. I wrote it in pencil. Those measurements are not in this book. I wrote it in pencil. So then I multiply that millimeters times the conversion factor and get the inches. Okay. All right. So 7 inches, 7 3/4 inches long overall. It's double-sided. It's a double-sided pressure flaker. Now, how do we know he used it? Well, there's a picture of him using it in the book. Now, let's see if I can flip through here reasonably fast. So I think he did those very delicate arrowheads with steel pressure flakers. Okay. Now, before that, he was probably using antler, like everybody thinks. That's probably true. All right, here's the picture of him using that particular flaker. All right. There's a tip on this end, and you can see the tip on that end right there. And you can see how he's holding it to do his pressure flaking. Okay. In one of the descriptions in one book, it says he does a notch as well using his thumb. So he's got the arrowhead kind of on his thumb and then pressure flaking it. I don't know how accurate that is, and there's no pictures of him doing it that way, but could be. All right. There's pictures of him shooting an arrow too, so I'll get into that in a minute. The Big Blue, what elegant lines. The auction and live stream seem to be a real hit. Congrats. Yeah, thanks. Ishi's legend is crazy. Where did he come from? California. He was a Yahi Indian. Everyone in his tribe was wiped out except for him. And he was living by himself for a long time. I think his mother was the last one to die or something like that from his tribe. Anyway. Yeah, he entered a town when he was on the edge of starvation. He was desperate, so he entered a town. I can't remember if it's Sacramento, California, or some other town in that area. Now, I'm trying to find the pictures of the flint knapping tools. Hold on. I got to do one thing at a time. I'm trying to find a picture of the flint knapping tools because I want to show you the one that they call an Ishi stick, right? But that so-called Ishi stick is a Yurok item, not a Yahi item. And they assume that the Yahi use the same stuff as the Yurok. Okay? So the Ishi stick is actually a Yurok stick. There it is. See the top one? In real life, it's 17 3/4 inches long, right? They call that top one an Ishi stick. That's where that name comes from. But this particular stick is not his. It's a Yurok stick. Yurok Indian. And on this side, there's a piece of antler or bone. Let's see. What does it say? It says Aboriginal bone-pointed arrow flaker. Or arrowhead flaker, right? This is from the Yurok tribe in northwestern California and illustrates the type used by the Yahi before iron was known. Length 17 3/8 inches. So they're assuming the Yahi used the same as the Yurok, right? But there's no pictures. There is a description of Ishi using a stick that's long enough to fit under his arm and pressure flake with it. So he did use one, just not that one. Okay. Just to be clear, that one's a Yurok stick in the photos. All right. Always impressed how much more you can see from a good drawing compared to photos. Yeah. They look lethal. Yep. The arrowheads look pretty lethal. Yeah. So I had a Big Blue. He's joining us from Spain. Where did he get the steel nails if he lived in isolation his whole life? Well, he lived next to civilization, so to speak, right? So he got nails from construction sites. And they used to trade for nails and stuff like that too during the fur trade and stuff. Not just arrowheads, not just steel arrowheads. They trade for steel nails, steel knives, steel pots and pans. Everything you can think of made of steel, the Indians traded for those things. Hammers, axes. They had all that stuff. Always impressed how you can see. Okay. I wonder what advanced tools he switched to once he made contact with us when he came down. He just switched to whatever he could find. Some of his blunt tipped arrows had shell casings, expended brass on the top of his arrows. Okay, he would use, I think there's one, I think I've seen one, either it was his or someone else's, but yeah, you can use a spent shell casing for a blunt on the tip of an arrow. And that's what he used. I'm pretty sure he did use one. Other than that, he cut sections of an umbrella stem to make blunts. He would cut a tube section from an umbrella stem, let's say, and then he would cut a cross in the top of the tubing and then bend over the tubing sides so they meet in the middle, and he used that as a blunt sometimes. Having access to industrial man-mades may have made him reassess his toolkit. Yeah, a little bit, but not too much. He still used a leather pad instead of something else. The buckskin pad. He could have used, a fancy leather pad or something made of rubber, right? Because I think they did have rubber at the time. But he preferred some of his older stuff. And the vertical bone punch, he didn't get rid of that one. Thank the Lord, someone found him interesting enough to document him. Yeah, we've got a bunch of documentation. Yeah, Saxton Pope and others. And tourists that came to the museum would write down their accounts as well. I like the bobcat pic. Yeah. It's not mine. I wish I was that good at photography. It's just free stuff off the internet. Interesting. I never heard that. That's ironic. Cross blunts. Yeah. You know how you can bend over the tip, when you cut into the top of tubing in a crosswise manner, you can bend in the sides and it'll come to a point in the middle. Yeah. But using metal for arrow tips in that way is not new. If you look at in the Northeast where I am, they would use conical arrow tips where they would hammer a piece of copper flat and then bend it around into a cone and use that as a blunt. And then the French got smart and started trading to the Indians these blunts that were conical blunts. I think they were made of steel. Maybe they were also made of copper, but they were also a trade item, those conical blunts. Well, but the conical blunt goes back a ways into the copper culture, I believe, in the Northeast and in the Great Lakes area. Have you ever seen Fairborn agates before? They're on my state gemstone and the most sought after. No, I haven't seen it. Haven't seen them that I remember. I read something. Let's see. The shell casing thing was new. Was a new one. I'm glad you shared that. Okay, yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, the cheapest. That's one of the cheapest blunts you can get. Is just go collect some brass from a range or something, and you can use them for blunts. Ishi and others who like him were very resourceful in what they had. Yeah. If you look, a lot of those arrowheads are made of glass, man-made glass. Okay. Even those ones that I showed you that were extremely delicate. Let me see if I can find it again. It might be useful for you to know that they were made of glass. Okay. It's the same book, Bowyer's Bible, Volume 4. See these two right there? It says clear glass. amber glass for that one. And these are on his regular arrows before he came into civilization. So he was finding glass at dumps and job sites and railroad sites, probably. Okay, so these are before he came into civilization. These are his arrow types before he entered into civilization. Okay, these were found at grizzly bear hiding place. Okay, those are 3 arrows. It says here 3 more of Ishi's arrows taken from grizzly bear's hiding place in 1908 by Harry Kiefer, one of the surveyors team's packers who discovered the hidden camp. Harry's wife, Grace Kiefer, later gave these arrows to family members Chester and Ruby Rose of Chico, California. Ruby's nephew, Philip Rose of Richville, California, donated these arrows to Chico's Bidwell Mansion Museum for exhibition. But instead, the museum placed them in storage. Mr. Rose shared his story with Ishi chronicler Richard Burrell. Through Burrell's lobbying and paper trail documentation, in 2001, these Ishi arrows were finally transferred from storage and put into permanent Ishi exhibit of the California State Indian Museum in Sacramento. Okay. So those are made of window glass. Now there's a blunt here that's made of brass with the crimped top. Okay. Brass tubing. It may or may not be a shell casing. So yeah, the 2 with the pink dots, they're from the grizzly bear hiding place. Okay, window glass. I'll read the materials of the other ones. All right, clear glass, clear green glass, obsidian, clear glass. Clear means non-colored or colorless. Translucent amber glass, clear glass, black obsidian, translucent obsidian, clear glass, black obsidian, black obsidian, black obsidian, black obsidian, translucent amber glass, tinted light gray blue glass, opaque white milk glass, yellow tinted clear glass. So various types of glass and obsidian. Okay? All right. In case you didn't know. Let's see. So an Indian actually used glass. So if I use glass, I'm napping like an Indian? Yes, of course. Let's see. My late uncle was featured at the Fairburn Agate book, and it was a remarkable flint napper, as it is where my love for rocks began. Oh, I see. Okay, Jordan. Ishi was desperate and joined the modern civilization. Now most people are desperate to live out their lives in the wilderness, away from civilization. Yeah, pretty much. If they repeal the income tax, I think a lot of people are going to come back. Right? Hopefully. Have you tried much with glass? Yes. Yeah. Much? I don't know about much. Most of my napping has been with chert. Now, if you consider like 2 full 5-gallon buckets full of glass as much, then yeah, I've napped much glass. I think I've napped 2 5-gallon buckets full, because that's what seems to be my debitage. Well, it's not much compared to chert, because chert is like dozens of 5-gallon buckets of chert that have been my debitage. Let's see. That's how I measure how much I nap by my debitage, because I can't remember how many arrowheads I make, but I can pretty much remember how many times I've dumped buckets of debitage. What state? Yeah, what state has Fairburn agates? I wonder what Ishi would have thought about the brother sisterhood we now have that shares stone across the country. I bet he would love it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. But it's been that way for time immemorial. the trade in knapping stone has been going on for quite some time. My wife collects opaque milk glass. She would hate me if I napped it. Well, wait for something to break and then nap it. Or tell her if she finds something broken, buy it. Or, figure out where to get some that's broken. They have now at my recycle center a whole dumpster that's dedicated to nothing but glass. So I looked in there the other day, but it's mostly small beer bottles and large bottles, but with the dimple in the bottom. So they're not flat bottom, large bottles. I want flat bottomed, large bottles of glass, and I didn't see it. I didn't see any in there. But I will steal some as soon as I find some. Smokes is here in the house. Yeah, if you can find opaque milk glass, I've napped it. It's very good to nap. Yeah. Is there differences in glass? In case you don't know, yes, there's a lot of difference in glass depending on how it's tempered. And I don't want to get into how to temper the glass or what that means, but glass can be made stronger or weaker depending on how it's manufactured. You don't want to get the glass that's really strong that breaks into little cubes and chunks when it breaks. You want the weaker glass that breaks into long slivers and long triangular pieces. That's what you want. You want something. You want a glass that breaks into long pieces. The longer the pieces, the better. That indicates more flexibility, which indicates more nappability. Okay. Everybody say afternoon to everybody. If anyone has a source for Clorox bottle bottom glass, let it be known to us because that's very good stuff to nap because the bottoms of those bottles are flat. And some people can get a hold of literally hundreds of those from glass dumps. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to reproduce Indian arrowheads made of glass, Native American arrowheads from North America, you just need to look up arrowheads from the Southwest and from California. And they kept the napping tradition longer than other Indians from the rest of the country. Both because the expansion took a while to go fully westward. The European expansion took a while to go westward. And it just by coincidence, Indians in the West kept a lot of their traditions. They didn't give up their handicrafts or anything like that, especially when it comes to their utilitarian items like pottery, basketry, arrowheads, clothing, that kind of stuff. All righty. What else can I show you from the book? This is Ishi using a hammerstone on a nodule of obsidian. You can tell that it's a staged photo, but because there's no debitage on the ground, but it's probably accurate. There's another account where he just throws down the nodule onto a stone. Instead of having a stone in his hand to nap, he takes the nodule of obsidian and drops it onto a stone to break off pieces. I guess to keep it more at a distance or something. I don't know. You've seen that picture. Here is Ishi standing shooting his bow. Can you see? No. I'm all uncoordinated. See, he's a right-hand shooter, but the way he shoots is very different from the way we shoot. And I'll show you in a minute. I got my bow and everything. I got my bow strung and everything to show. Let's see if we can get a close-up. Maybe not a close-up. I'll show a close-up. There is one in the book. Here at the bottom, you can see him shooting See how he's very contorted, kind of all, I don't know, in a weird squatting position. Not at all in the same tradition that we shoot. Here's the shot or the pose after the shot. See that? He drops the bow down after the shot. Okay? First it's close up and then shoots, it drops down. And I've heard that he would let the string go forward. He would rotate the bow in his hand and the string would go forward. Maybe not all the way forward, but it would go forward of the bow. And you can see how short the draw is. If you were to take a ruler and measure that draw from the brace height, it's got to be less than 18 inches. He doesn't drop back to his cheek or his ear. It's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. He does not have an anchor point. There is no anchor point in Ishi's shooting. In modern shooting, you have an anchor point where you touch your face. But Ishi did not have an anchor point. And again, here's the bottom photo shows after the shot. Okay. All right, so we'll show a close-up. I'm going to show a close-up of the way the arrow is held, in case you don't know. Some of you guys, this is old stuff and you've seen it thousands of times, but some people, this is brand new. They've heard so much about Ishi and they say, well, I'm shooting like Ishi used to shoot because he had such and such of a bow with sinew backing and such an arrow that was such and such inches long, and I'm shooting it, and now I know how Ishi shot his bows and arrows. No, you don't know. Unless you followed this book or done a lot of research. Here is the Ishi's bow hand. Okay. And Ishi's release or finger grip. Okay. How do you do that finger grip? It's 90% thumb. And it looks like it makes it easier to sight the arrow. Yeah, it also eliminates the archer's paradox. It doesn't interfere. You can have different spines on the arrow and it'll still shoot fairly straight. Let's see. Come on, please work. No, it's not working. I'm trying to advance the chat slowly. It likes to advance really fast, so I can't read it. I'm trying to advance it and go backwards really slowly. Okay. Here we go. The West stayed wild. Yes, it did for a long time. And I guess you could say it's still wild. Maybe not. Crazy, yes. It became crazy. The West became crazy. It sucks that my tribe only held on to beadwork instead of knapping and leatherwork, or else I would have been, yep, steeped in old-timey from a young age, yeah. There's still a lot of good information that has been passed on. Just our little niche community is the only community that tends to keep and preserve that information. Interesting right hand with a tilt. Yeah, we tilt it with the palm downward when we do the 45-degree tilt. We, meaning Europeans, if I tilt this, it's palm down. Ishi tilted it palm up. Okay? Let me see if I can do this on camera. I'm going to pin the microphone to myself. Maybe I can still have good reception on the microphone. All right. It tends to go bloop, drop. So if it goes away from my face, you can't hear anything. Okay. All right. So Ishi would hold it not tilted like this, but tilted like this. He used these three fingers to hold the arrow. All right. Thumb over the string. Thumb over the string. And then this knuckle, the first knuckle on the index finger, pushes against the thumb so that the arrow doesn't slide. Okay. So you've got the thumb over the string. And then the first knuckle on the index finger pushing against the arrow knock, and then you draw it. All right. So he would shoot like this. And that's hard to do unless you get used to it. It really wears on your thumb. You've got to develop a really good callus at the first knuckle of the thumb on the inside. So in case you didn't see it, it's like this. And the thumb goes over the string, and the first knuckle keeps pressure on everything. But this part of the finger has to be below the string of the index finger, below the string. Because if it's above the string lets go, it'll pull your index finger. How do I know? I don't know. You probably didn't need the microphone for that. You could see what's going on. But I will demonstrate that more clearly some other way. This format it's only good for like talking, demonstrating and making something. I've got to do this to look at the comments. To get a full view of what I'm doing, I've got to be far away from the comments and I can't see. Yeah, you can sight down the arrow really easily that way. And the bow's not in the way at all, especially if you're behind something. The bow is, okay. The bow is like this, right? And the blind can be like this, and your head can be up over, like your eyes can be just over the top of the blind, and you can still shoot the arrow, right? If you're like this, you've got your arm in the way. See what I mean? If you're like this, your arm's not in the way. See what I mean? Okay. I'm not saying it's better because it really makes your fingers sore, but it is a way you can hide and shoot more easily. And that's the way you're supposed to hunt, right? Behind something hidden or ambush. You ambush your enemy, ambush the animals, be sneaky about it. Ishi was freestyling. Yes, he was. The way he was drawing is very short. That is true. You lean in with it. Yes, you do. He must have learned his instinct spot. And also realized there was no point in throwing the arrow any harder. Yeah, must have gotten enough power out of the short, quick draw. Yeah, because it's very short distances, 15 feet or less in some cases. There is a chart where he shot at distance. in this book. Do you want to know how he scored long distance? Okay, let's see if I can find it. I might have to go through every single page because that's the way I am. I can't remember if it's at the beginning or the end or in the middle. It's in the middle. Good. All right. This is how he shot. It's called the American round, right? 30 arrows being shot at each distance. This is what they used to do back in the day, these competitions. He entered the American round, okay? There's another round. There's another thing called the York round, but that's long distance. Right, short distance, 1914, 60 yards. He has 10 hits or a score of 32. Okay, now let's compare that to one of the best archers of the time. Okay, 60 yards, 30 hits, a 208 score. All right, again, Ishi, 60 yards, 10 hits, a 32 score. The best at the time, 60 yards, 30 hits, 208 score. So, you score according to what circle you enter into. Gold being the middle. Okay. 50 yards, Ishi, 20 hits, a 92 score, and 2 gold. Ishi again, 40 yards, 19 hits, a 99 score, 2 golds. Okay. And he did it again on May 30th. So that was October 23rd, 1914. He did it again in 1915, May 30th. Similar, but a little bit better results. 60 yards, 13 hits, a 51 score. 50 yards, 17 hits, a 59 score. 40 yards, 23 hits, a 95 score, and 1 gold. Okay? So it says here, a good score will total 90 hits or a 500 score. My own best round is 88 hits and a 538 score. This was Sexton Pope. Yeah. So Sexton Pope was an accomplished archer. All right. So you can understand now that Ishi wasn't a very good shot. Okay. Now I'm going to read you an excerpt and to kind of accompany that. It says, there are no records of Aboriginal archery with which to compare those of civilized times. That the American Indian was a good shot is conceded by all who knew him, and fiction makes him out as an incomparable archer, capable of deeds outrivaling those of William Tell and the redoubtable Robin of Sherwood Forest. But no authentic scores exist. It is therefore a privilege to have been able to compare the shooting of an unspoiled American Indian with that of modern archers. So far as target shooting is concerned, it is well known that the greatest archer of all times was Horace Ford. Okay. Then it goes into those things about archery. Let me find the spot that I'm trying to find here. Let's see. I can't find the spot that I was reading earlier. I didn't highlight it. Anyway, it says that there's a difference between target shooting and hunting shooting. Shooting while hunting and shooting while at an archery competition. Ishi was a very good shot while hunting. Okay, but in an archery competition, he was not. And I wanted to read it straight from the book, but I can't find it within 5 seconds. He shot like Spider-Man, yeah. Like one of my best earliest blades was made from a white baking dish that I got at a thrift store. So try to buy another one, Pyrex, try to break it and shatter it into a million pieces. Yeah, if it shatters into a million pieces, don't worry, it wasn't good for knapping. Some of those Pyrex casserole dishes are heavily tempered and they're not good. I'm late. Mike Tufts is late. Oh no. We still got another hour. Yeah, it's okay. Pyrex glass is great and comes in purple and blues. Really? Let's see. Auto knock grip. I don't understand what that is. Shooting across bush and prairie grass was likely easier. I don't know. Hello, all. Hello, Jesse. A quick snapshot can squeak out a little more speed on a lower poundage bow. A quick snapshot can squeak out a little more speed on a lower poundage bow. It's all physics. It's easier to pull it back further when you do it quickly because you don't have to hold it. Maybe that's what you're talking about. But you need to draw it back quicker in order for the arrow to fly faster. You need to draw it back further in order for the arrow to fly faster. If you pull it quicker, you can draw it further with less pain. At the full draw, it's kind of painful if you don't have a glove or something, or if you haven't shot a lot. He was the Pope in the Pope and Young scoring system. Yes. That makes sense. He has wilderness heightened senses not available at archery matches. Maybe. He found it easier to hit a smaller target than a bigger target. Sexton Pope describes something. He named it something, but Ishi had an easier time hitting a small target than he did hitting a large target. It also coincides with the expression aim small, hit small. If you aim at a small target, your pattern or your grouping is going to be smaller. Right? I don't know if I got that exactly correct, the expression, but aim small, hit small. If you aim at a small area, you're going to have a tighter group. This is rifle shooting, but I guess it also applies to archery. And Ishi had an easier time hitting a small target. Like, I think Sexton Pope had an experiment. He put up a plate and an orange. And Ishi had an easier time shooting the orange size object than hitting the middle of the plate. Makes it hard when the chat bar is getting away from you that you're talking about. Yeah. Good afternoon. I mean, Ishi didn't have glasses and he was aging more rapidly than most due to survival conditions. I'm certain he was better in his young age. No, he wasn't that old, actually. Let me see how old he was when he died. It's just a different psychological form. It's a different form of shooting that affects you psychologically. Target shooting is not hunting. It's a different psychological form of shooting. It's a different type of shooting that affects you in a different psychological way. And you have to get adjusted to that way of shooting to be good at it. Which means Indians didn't shoot at targets. They practiced on the real thing. You mean those things that look like targets, those little things that they used to wrap together made of grass for shooting? They weren't targets? Yeah, they were targets. They were test targets to test the bow and arrows, okay? And they did have games where you would shoot and whoever got closest to whatever it was out there, you would get a prize or whatever. They did have those, but it was games, okay? All you had to do was get closer than the other guy. You didn't have to hit it. Like if you shot an arrow out there and then everyone had to try to get as close as possible to that arrow, you'd win. That's a game, but you don't have to hit the arrow that's out there. You just have to get closer than the other guys. Okay. Ishi died of tuberculosis on March 25th, 1916. How old was he? I can look it up on Grok or somewhere. You can just type it in on the internet. How old was Ishi, the Indian, when he died? We don't know for sure because they didn't keep accurate records of the dates of birth, right? I mean, it didn't matter. Native Americans didn't have birth dates. But he wasn't that old. His eyes were good. I think he would have gotten glasses if his eyes were bad. They supplied him everything he needed at the museum. Yeah, I could try finding my different excerpts in here for hours. I was reading that book earlier. I've just got little bits of memories, but I'll get into it more in depth in a different kind of video. All right. I mean, Ishi didn't have glasses and was aging more rapidly, most due to survival conditions. I don't know. Survival conditions are harsh. But believe it or not, fasting and going without food and eating mostly meats is actually better, is good for you. It eliminates cancer and eliminates a lot of problems. Aim small, miss small. Aim small, miss small. That's the quote. Aim small, miss small. Yep. Aiming at a small target usually tightens accuracy. Yes. Good afternoon from rainy West Tennessee, Tommy. Ben Creek, Stone and Steel. Got the correct quotation. Kiowa. Ishi was 55 when he died. All righty. I'm 62 and I don't need my glasses very much. I'd say you're right when he was likely sick from starvation. Chunky or something. The arrow game. Yeah, the arrow game. They did that with that ladle darts too, I believe. You shoot in the ladle dart out and then you try to get close to it. Whoever gets the closest wins. They used to do that with all kinds of stuff. Even game balls. You know, you roll out the game ball and you have to roll out other ones and try to get close to the original. And of course, they'd gamble. Native American Indians were very prolific gamblers. True at little game as well. Yeah. I've seen accounts of different games. There's another game where you shoot the atlatl in the air, and before it drops, you try to hit the atlatl dart. Shoot the atlatl dart into the air. I get confused because I watch other videos and they get the terms mixed up. They call the atlatl dart the atlatl, but no. And they'll say they threw the atlatl in the air and everyone else tried to shoot their atlatls at it. Well, if you take it literally, they're just shooting the throwing sticks in the air and everyone tries to hit the throwing stick with their throwing sticks. The atlatl is the throwing stick. The atlatl dart is the big arrow. Got to make sure you put dart at the end. Okay, so people still make that mistake on videos and stuff. Hello, Ed. I made a small set of boppers for you last night. You've been busy, Mike. I suppose you wondering why we're all here today. Hey, Ed is here. Ed Gould. Yeah. Are you? Yeah, just post your email, Ed, if you want someone to contact you. Just post it. Just do it. I do it. I have to delete all the spam, but I put my email out there. The spam filters are actually pretty good, but they're not great. So I still have to trash more than half of my emails. Just right off the bat, trash. Yeah. I get offers for all kinds of stuff. Collaborations, and I often shop on Amazon, so they've got my email. And they sell the information to third parties, and I get offers for all kinds of stuff. And, but just do it. Sorry for being like spam. Well, you can spam the comments section here. Is that what you mean? That doesn't bother me. In the emails, I don't delete comments from subscribers or anything. Of course, nobody knows what I do, but no, I don't delete emails from subscribers. Some subscribers have told me, "Hey, did you see my last email? Because it was like 4 months ago." And I had to say, well, just remind me what our conversation was. I try to look for emails based on what we've conversed about before and type in keywords and all that kind of good stuff, and it never comes up. Rarely it comes up. So if you say, I emailed you about 4 months ago, how's it going? I'll have to scroll back. If we haven't emailed very much between those 4 months and now, then I can find it. But if it's like 87 messages between 4 months ago and now, there's no way I can find it. I'm going through there. I got to do a keyword or something, and then they never work, or it brings up everything. Anyway, I got to close the window shade a little bit. The sun is starting to shine onto the computer itself. I can't see the comments. Much better. So where's the arrowhead I showed in the thumbnail? There it is. I'll be making more of these in the nodule productivity video series. Remember that one? It wasn't too long ago. What's my diet like? Well, glad you asked. 0 carbohydrates. So what do I eat? Meat, eggs, water. That's the 3 basic food groups. Any kind of meat? Yeah. Fish, chicken, and beef and pork. Those are the 4 that I normally eat because it's so easy to get. But yeah, you can eat bugs. You could eat seafood, any kind of meat, lamb. They even sell sheep meat, mutton here, any kind of meat. All right. That includes snakes and reptiles and lizards and whatever. And then eggs. Eggs contain every vitamin and mineral you need except vitamin C. Meat contains vitamin C. Although I do take supplements because I get worried that today's meats are not like they used to be. If you eat lots of wild meats, it has more of everything that you need. And eggs from your own chickens and not factory chickens are twice as good. Okay. Now you can eat cheese and dairy if you tolerate it. Most people can't tolerate dairy very well. And if you do eat cheese, the harder the cheese, the better. The soft cheeses still contain a lot of lactase, which is a sugar. So I tried to eliminate all sugar. How long have I been doing this? Since 2018, 6 years. I've been on exclusively, quote unquote, 0 carb diet. And it's not easy. I find I cheat a lot. If I look, eggs contain some carbohydrates. I try to limit my eggs, but I can't always do it. I need some variety instead of just eating the same old meats all the time. It just gets kind of boring. But anyway, I try to eliminate carbohydrates. The hams that I eat have a little bit of sugar. The bacon that I eat has a little bit of sugar. I try to limit those as much as possible. Sugar changes the way your brain works too. Okay, so it not only helps you to eliminate carbs in terms of gaining weight, it also helps you in terms of mental health. Any problem you have with your mental health is made worse with sugar. Depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, mood disorders, bipolar disorder, short-term memory, early onset dementia. All that is made worse with sugar. Much worse. You start getting rid of all the sugar, you'll feel quite a difference. Pickled quail eggs are great. Oh, yeah. I've had those many times. I find myself eating salads once in a while with a little bit of ranch dressing. I always regret it, but I can't help it. I'll have a salad once a month or so. And yeah, I used to be Mr. Donuts, Mr. Cakes and Candies, especially Reese's Pieces and Mounds chocolate bars. Yeah, Mounds with the coconut. Mr. Coffee. I used to drink tons and tons of coffee. I had my own little coffee maker at work. Yeah. Having a pot of coffee before lunchtime was very common with me. I ruined myself with coffee. Yeah. I still take caffeine, but I still get it, but I take the caffeine pills. I can't get away from that. Have to have it. It actually feels like I'm taking medicine when I take caffeine. I know you probably didn't want to hear all that. But yeah, anyone who has Native American heritage in particular, you're not going to do well with carbohydrates. And part of my family and a lot of my ex-wife's family are Native Americans. So I've just recommended that until I'm blue in the face. Of course, they don't give anything up except the really sugary stuff, like the maple syrup on the pancakes and stuff. You got to get rid of the really heavy sugars and the wheat. Anything that's modern processed. Maple syrup's not modern processed. If you look at the label, a lot of maple syrups are mostly high fructose corn syrup. If it's pure maple syrup and you just dip a little bit of your pancake in there, it's okay as long as the pancake doesn't have modern processed wheat, right? Do you guys make pancakes out of the wheat that's not modernly processed? I don't think so. Anyway, can I send you an email? This will make you laugh, but let's see. Yeah, you guys exchange your emails because I don't want to be the middleman. Don't email me to email somebody else. Okay. It makes it easier. Just go directly to the source. I'm working on a source for Hopkinsville Church, and working on a source. I've got a source. It's going to be coming in the mail. If it's good, I'll recommend him to everybody. But he's got Hornstone and Hopkinsville in huge quantities. Let's see. You look great for your age. Thanks. I already read this part. 54 years this year, married to the same one. Oh, wow. I was married for 26 years. Why 26? Because I didn't want it to be 27. It's kind of a keto. No, keto has too many carbs. You have to eliminate all the carbs. When I look at my diet, it's a lot like keto because I cheat, but I don't cheat often enough for it to have bad effects. If I start feeling like I'm losing energy or getting senile, I stop eating anything that has the carbohydrates. Like I'll stop eating the eggs and the hams and anything with sugar, like bacon has a little bit of sugar in it. And I'll just go strictly to salt, meat, water. That's it. And I'll feel a lot better. Of course, if you are into doing heavy cardio, like if you're a sprinter, if you run or if you ski, or if you do any type of fast swimming, anything that requires a lot of energy for a long period of time, then you can stand to eat some carbohydrates because you'll burn them up quickly. But other than that, everybody else, they just normal people just ride bicycles, go for walks, lift weights and stuff. You'll be fine on just meat. It's only the athletes, the super athletes, that need some carbohydrates because they burn off the carbohydrates in their system too fast. The body produces its own glucose for your muscles from protein. Okay, so you'll have energy. You just won't have the extreme amounts that you might need if you're an athlete. Freezer full of venison. Yeah, the wild meats are much better in terms of vitamins and minerals. The mail has been very abusive lately. Yeah. I don't know about lately. There was a time, I think last year, I was getting a lot more spam than this year. Yeah, quail eggs are really good. Pickled quail eggs are good too. Pickled eggs are good. You can have vinegar. It's not a carbohydrate. You're dropping straight facts about the sugar. It's the only drug that is advertised to kids. Yeah. Yeah. It is advertised to kids big time. I'm trying to think, is that the only drug that's advertised to kids? Someone was saying there was something else that was it was very addictive emotionally. The flavor of something. It's not just the flavor of sweetness, but it's a certain flavor. I mean, chocolate has a certain flavor that's kind of psychologically addictive. Anyway, let's see. Sounds like meditation. Medation time? Sounds like a medation time is a must. Good veggies, little meat, mind over matter. Ice is sugar-free, lactose-free, everything free. Yeah, ice. Yeah, I normally don't put ice in any of my drinks, though. Pure maple syrup up here in the Northeast. Yeah, I can get access to pure maple syrup, too. But it's not supposed to be consumed in the state that we are making it. It's not supposed to be consumed as a syrup. It's supposed to be consumed as a sap straight from the tree, which is mostly water. We condense it down into the syrupy stuff, and that's not good for us. But if you tap a maple tree and you drink just the sap, it's not bad for you. It's in terms of spiking your sugar levels or making you go crazy. Yeah, sugar makes you go crazy over time. How do I know? I don't know. And my dad was a big sugar person, and he went not crazy, but you could tell the early onset dementia was bad. And I was getting it pretty bad. And my dad had it pretty badly. Yeah. And he was Mr. Apple Juice and Mr. Apple Juice and donuts. And what was his other favorite thing? I didn't want him eating too much of it. He would eat what they call dirt pudding. He had these desserts that he liked, so I had to limit those. Yeah, because he would go on a spree where he wouldn't eat much at all, and then when he did want to eat, it was all sugary stuff, and then he would kind of be in a stupor. And you could tell he didn't know where he was. He didn't understand what was going on. He didn't understand daytime from nighttime. I mean, it was bad. Anyway, I never get rid of my maple syrup on Spam. Well, if you're going to eat Spam, you got to have something to make it taste good. Okay. I've got 1.5% Mesoamerican, 1% Aleut. I was born in Moscow. Oh, wow. Yuri. Now I know why I'm fat. Yes. Well, it goes for anybody that has ancestry that were farming livestock instead of crops. Like if you come from ancestry where your ancestors were herders, goat herders, cows, sheep, your families in the past had mostly meat to eat and dairy. So that's what your your body's got used to. Same with mine. I'm Northern European, and apparently my ancestors are mostly herders. I only do well on meat. Anything else other than meat, and I just go down the tubes as far as being able to think or do anything. What's the proper way to half a side notch blade? Haft. What's the proper way to haft a side notched blade? Is it supposed to look like a tomahawk or a knife? Haft a side notched blade. Side notched. It's supposed to look like a knife. Tomahawks are an invention from Europeans, and they traded them to the Indians, and then the Indians used them after that. The Indians, the only thing that they used that was similar to a tomahawk was the war clubs that were wrapped with some sort of wrap in the middle. Like, you've seen the war clubs that the Plains Indians used. That type of war club was used in a wide area, not just the plains. And they're not called tomahawks; they're called war clubs, right? For a reason. The tomahawk with the axe on one side and the spike on the other side, or that thing that's similar. The blade tapers down on tourist shop tomahawks. That's got the cross hatching in the middle to haft it to a stick. That's a fiction. That is fake. That is false. That is science fiction. That is fantasy. Okay? Indians didn't use those. They used the metal ones they got in trade from the Europeans. Yes. But to make their own, they had war clubs, whichever style was appropriate for their tribe. Okay? All right. So the default answer to the question, is it supposed to be have to like a tomahawk, whatever it is, or a knife? It's never the tomahawk. Okay? All right. I can't drop weight. Alcohol is also a carbohydrate. Yeah. The alcohol will make you gain weight. Besides, the liver gets damaged. And when the liver gets damaged, you gain fat around your liver. So that even if you get skinny on the outside, you still have a pot belly. That means your liver is fat, which means you have a damaged liver. You got to stop or seriously lower all of that. No alcohol, no carbohydrates, no sugars. If you want to slim all that stuff down and get rid of cancer and all that. Get rid of the threat of cancer. Once you have cancer, it's hard to get rid of. Yeah, but if you take care of yourself, you won't get it. The body has ways to get rid of cancer in the early stages. Both are enrolled to stay in place at high. Yeah, I bought some pure maple syrup last year, and it was just a bit thicker than water. Oh, okay. But yeah, you've got to water it way down. Caffeine is advertised to kids. Yeah. Yeah, in those monster drinks and stuff, right? Those energy drinks. Corn and sugar are both lobbied for, and the highest level right next to tobacco and alcohol, it seems. Oh, yeah. The quick, easy foods are always high in carbohydrates. Sandwiches. We always joke about sandwiches. Most of the stuff in a sandwich has carbohydrates. So, and pizza too. Whenever I would go, see, I was still working when I was trying to cut down on my carbs. I didn't go full carnivore. Like my diet now is carnivore. I didn't go full carnivore until 6 years after I stopped working. But even when I was at work, I would try to limit the carbohydrates because I would get too fat sitting behind the desk. And when I would eat pizza at these gatherings at work, I would just skim the top off and eat that. I wouldn't eat the crust or anything. And when it came time for donuts, I would break the donut once, twice, and eat 1/4 of it with my coffee. It was torture because if you're still eating even a little bit of sugar, it makes you crave more. So it makes you feel like you're dying for more. Don't have to side notch. Yeah. Well, if it's one notch, like in a corner or something, don't have to. But if it's got notches on both sides, a side notch, that means to me, it's got a notch on each side. Then you have to like a knife or a spear point. If it's a corner tang, you don't have to. You hang it on a thong or a piece of cordage. Have you ever heard about the Three Sisters crop rotation technique? It has basically shaped modern agriculture as we know it. The Three Sisters is corn, beans, and squash. And it has shaped what we do now, but they don't grow it together anymore. They just grow modified forms of corn, modified beans, and modified squash. It's big business nowadays. Yeah. But the Indians used to grow those three together. The corn would supply the stalk for the bean to climb, and the squash would provide leaf cover at the bottom because it spreads big leaves to keep the weeds out. The weeds don't like to grow underneath the squash leaves, so it helps to keep the weeds out. So those three in combination they help each other. And the women figured that out. Let's see. You raise honeybees. That for sugar, but very little. When you get older, you have to lighten load more than less. Yes, moderation is key. Yeah, if you raise honeybees and sell the honey and the beeswax, yeah, it's a good business. I just wouldn't. I was thinking of doing it myself, but I would never consume the honey. It'd be hard though, because you have to taste it to see if it's good for your customers. But that's about all I would do is just taste it. But it's a good business, I think. Yeah, but it's still sugar. Honey is still sugar. The beeswax is all, but the beeswax is not sugar. It's useful for all kinds of stuff. Donnie dust covered side notch not being hefted. Just a tie point. Yeah. I was meaning a blade with the notches applied to one corner. Yeah, those you just hang from cordage or a piece of leather thong. Do they still call it thong? Because I don't know. Three Sisters Garden, yeah. If you do the original corn, original beans, original squash, all these plants are drought tolerant. They're small. They don't yield a whole lot, and they're easy to harvest. Modern stuff is built for machinery. Did I say easy to harvest? It's not that easy to harvest the older, more ancient, more healthy plants. It's easier to harvest the newer ones. And the newer ones are more disease resistant to a point. Yeah. But they still got to use lots of pesticides and stuff. Back in the day, you would tend your garden with the Three Sisters. You tend the garden every day. And you would go after and set traps for rodents. The gardens attracted rodents. So you not only would eat the harvest from the garden, you would eat the rodents that come around, especially the rabbits and stuff. But you got to check on it every day. It's called a corner tang, yes. And that makes sense. Yeah, corner tang knives are hung from cordage. Game like R. Snyder's here. Is there a different way to hold the points at an angle? I keep blowing off the wings on the Ishi style points. I'm guessing I accidentally turned my flaker and it makes contact on the side. Yeah, making contact with the pad is the main culprit of breaking stuff. So that's why I use a domed pad. It's domed in both ways. Some people think a domed pad is just domed in one way. You turn it and it's flat the other way. No, you dome it each way. Turn it and dome it the other way too. So it's completely semicircular, so to speak. The proper term is lenticular. It has to be domed all the way around, everywhere. That way, when you put pressure on the item that you're knapping, the point where you're applying pressure is the only point that's touching the pad. That's what you need. You can't have other pieces of the point touching anywhere else, or other areas of the point touching anywhere else. That's what snaps things off. The other thing that snaps off barbs is if you're putting a lot of pressure and it rebounds. If you've got something that's rebounding too much, that rebound will snap off a barb just because of the vibration. It has nothing to do with the actual pressure from the sides or from the pad. Just the rebounding can either snap a tip off or a barb just because it snaps back really fast after you push. So you have to make sure you're pushing very carefully so that you don't have a big rebound when you snap off a flake. Ralph Snyder, I was going to say that. Let's see. There's a different way to hold the points at an angle. There is a different way. Oh, is there a different way? You don't necessarily need to hold it at a different angle. As long as you're able to take flakes off the point. That's the angle. Whatever angle you need to remove a flake, that's the angle. The trick is not to have pressure anywhere else and not to have it rebound too much. I want to make a pressure flaker with the super thin horseshoe nail. I'm currently using a flattened narrow copper rod for my narrow entry. I do better on flints and cherts. Yep. 2 kinds of sugar. Cane sugar, which has to change to dextrose in order to get in the body and store as energy. Corn sugar. I don't know about that one. The body converts all kinds of different sugars into glucose, no matter what it starts out as. It can all start with a slightly different chemical composition, but it all changes to glucose. The body knows how to change each type of sugar into the one type of sugar that the body uses. Some requires more energy and nutrients to make the change than others. Some are more direct, and some are not so direct. Think monk fruit sweetener has a sugar that's not easily digestible, so it's not going to convert to glucose very fast. That's what I think. I don't know. Anyway, there are sugar substitutes that are sugary, but the chemical composition makes them difficult to digest, but they're still sweet. So but by the time it goes through the intestines, it's only partially digested and you don't get a lot of that sugar in your system. That's my understanding. But, honey is sugar. Maple syrup is sugar. Cane sugar is sugar. Any kind of fruit has sugar in it. And when you look at the carbohydrate content, when I was first trying to watch my diet and limit my carbohydrates, it says 8 grams of carbohydrates. For me, I had to double that number in order for it to be accurate as far as what I need to eliminate. Okay. I think they report only part of what they should be reporting. Like if I eat a piece of bread and then a piece of fruit, and they both have supposedly the same amount of carbohydrates, the bread will make me a lot fatter. And it has to do with the way they report the carbohydrates. I have a feeling that the bread has twice as many as the fruit, but they don't say it because there's some way to get around it on the label. You can make let's see. Glucogenesis. Yeah. Mike, I grew up around Italians and we played backy ball a lot. Fun yard game at family cookouts. Yeah. You can make a punch to do the notching, and I do it on a tabletop with leather pad. Just flatten out a piece of pipe or use a spring notcher like the new ones. Yeah, Notch-O-Matic. Do you nap Onondaga flint? We nap quartzite here, smoky kind. Yeah, Onondaga chert from New York is nappable. I've got some, and I'm getting some more soon. Quartzite is not easy to nap in most cases. I don't like it that much. I didn't get much commenting on how Ishi was drawing his bow. I bet you none of you have tried to shoot arrows that way. That's why I got crickets. I also said I'm going to demonstrate it better somewhere else so you can see it, how he actually shot. But yeah, crickets on that. That's funny. I don't shoot with the regular European style shooting myself. I use a pinch grip so I can get used to the way many Native Americans would shoot their bows. I've seen big flat blades in South Dakota made of quartzite. Yeah, but what type of quartzite? South Dakota? I'm trying to think if I know of. I just know Tallahassee, but there's probably another one that I can't remember. Right? Do they have Tallahassee up in South Dakota? It's not bad. Tallahassee quartzite is not too bad. There's another type too. I can't remember what it is. It looks like grainy sugar. When I first started seriously shooting a bow, I had a finger tab. I used 2 fingers under. Yeah, I've always used, when I was growing up, the regular European style where, 3 fingers and you hold the arrow between the index and the middle finger. I grew up using this draw, never under, because I would make a lot of my own arrows and they would slip. Now you can put a little, I don't know what they call it, something. You just clamp it onto the string and they'll prevent the arrow from going up, and then you can do the under thing. But I've never done it that way. Growing up, it was a 3-finger. I had the 3-finger glove, but these days I use a pinch grip like this. I use that grip, and I can draw 60 pounds with that grip. The pressure is on these 2 fingers right here. This one and this one, middle finger and the index finger, is how I draw the string. The thumb just keeps the arrow in place, and it fits. The thumb fits into the hollow spot before the nock if you have a bulbous nock. So that's the way Native Americans would shoot. Many of them, not all of them. Okay? That's the way I shoot now. But yeah, some people do 3 under or 2 under. I never use the under. Finger tabs, yeah. I always bought the gloves. The gloves. I've always bought the archery gloves with the little strap that goes around your wrist, and then you got the 3 little pieces of leather on your fingertips. Instead of the tab. I never liked the tab. But, it works for some people. And it's cheaper too. So if you can use it, it's cheaper. I don't use anything anymore. I don't use a glove or anything anymore on either hand. Although it helps to use glove on the arrow hand if you rest the arrow on your hand. But if you wrap the fletching well and you don't have much of an archer's paradox, you shouldn't have to worry about it. There's problems with fletching if you don't wrap the front end of the fletching and you rest the arrow on your hand. The fletching can sometimes go through the skin right at the knuckle. I'm from South Dakota, and I can say that quartzite is rough. Oh, yeah. Pretty grainy and shiny. Yeah. Today I have a Matthews Reason 7.0, and I use a release. You're cheating. is in the head. Determination for sure. Knock. I put a knob on the arrow. Ed, you need to make some videos, Ed, so we can see what you're talking about. Very grainy. I'm assuming the quartzite is very grainy. Yes, it is. I'm from Piedmont. I've heard of Piedmont chert, right? Or no? Ishi used an underhand grip with a locking type finger grip while looking over the bow. Yeah, I went over that a little bit earlier. You missed it, David Rushing. You missed it. He grip. I can shoot Ishi style, but it's very hard on the thumb. Just go back, rewatch the video, and I show it in the beginning part of the video, the first half. Speaking of bows, let's see. Speaking of bows, my cedar log has been mostly stripped, and it's being rained on while I'm at work. Can't wait to go home, finish the new knots, and get it inside out of the rain. Yeah. As long as it's cool weather rain and not warm weather rain, you'll be fine. Warm weather rain, the bow can get moldy. The bow would. It's not a bow yet. I went to school there in Sturgis and Rapids. Small world. That's awesome. Yeah. You guys in the comment section, some of you are from the same area or were in the same area. Yeah. That's kind of cool. I've had people ask me, where do I go to a nap-in? Or where do people go to nap-ins? And sometimes I give them a nap-in. If they're lucky enough to live in a state that has nap-ins, and I give them a list, and they go, wait a minute, that's like 20 minutes from me. All this time, they've been having nap-ins there for 20 years, and I've lived 20 minutes from there. Yep. That's the way life goes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I was explaining some stuff from this book, Yahi Archery, showing the way Ishi holds his bow and arrow. This is the release. I mean, we've seen pictures of this. I've seen pictures of that forever, but just try it with a bow that's 40 pounds or more, and try releasing the arrow a few times. You'll see you need to develop a pretty big callus so you won't hurt yourself. And some of these pictures in here, the way they label them is not accurate. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's pretty good. Basic information in this book. The original photos are much better than the ones in this book. This is a photocopied book. If you buy it off Amazon, it's photocopied and the photos are not that great. Here's Ishi working on lashing an arrowhead to the top of the shaft, but it doesn't show anything up close. He's got a little bit of sinew in his mouth here before he wraps the arrowhead. And he's using a small fire of coals to heat the glue at the tip. I'm supposing, or maybe to dry the sinew. Sinew dries pretty quick if you keep it next to the warm fire. Do you have a favorite wood for a bow? Hickory or osage or another wood? Most bows that last me the longest are made of osage. But I've had bows of all kinds of wood. But I don't have a favorite because there's always a drawback. There's always something. But my two top ones, let's say the top three, juniper, osage, and elm. Those are my top three. But they all have drawbacks that you need to deal with. I just sold the place last year. The steakhouse is closed. 11 brothers and sisters. Wow. I would assume uncle. He was a rock hunter, flint napper in the area. Yeah. Nobody in my family ever flint napped or did anything like that or hunted for arrowheads. My grandmother on my father's side has a small arrowhead collection, but that's it. Hey, Jack, you helped me with a lot of your knowledge. In a final revision of a novel, I removed the mention of honey from my Clovis age dialogue. My main characters are nappers. Awesome. Yeah, Native Americans didn't have honey or beeswax. Hey, Jack, let's see. For the ones who came in late, what is the book you are referencing? It is Ishi, or no, Yahi Archery. Yeah. Yahi Archery by Saxton Pope. Copyright 1918. It is now in the public domain. So I can show as much as I want of that book. I can even produce my own books, which I might print my own version of that book if I can do it if I want to, and give you better dialogue and better pictures, and I can do drawings and all kinds of stuff. You're welcome, Mike. Yeah, I referenced that book, and I referenced this book. Boyer's Bible, Volume 4, has a section on Ishi's archery, and it begins toward the back. I got a little bookmark or a little tab. It is entitled Ishi's Archery Tackle by Steve Aleli. Begins on page 269. Okay, so in case you have this book, you went, wait, Ishi stuff is in this book? What page? Where is it? I don't see it anywhere. It's on 269. It starts there. And it goes all the way to it has his bows, close-ups of bows, and even the tips. All these dimensions. I'm not as interested in that as the arrows, but yeah, it's got 2 pages. It ends on 290. So how many pages is that? 21? 21 fun-filled pages of never-ending fascination. Okay. What else should I talk about in this last 15 minutes? I'm going to wrap it up in 15 minutes. Do I have anything else? Yuri Kurtz became a member or gifted me. He sent me a gift. Did you cut the groundhog hide yet? No, I'm going to do that soon. For those of you who don't know, let me get it. Let's see if the microphone works way over here next to my freezer. I think it does. Here it comes. It's wrapped in plastic. Let me take it out of the plastic. I ordered a groundhog hide. I took one for the team. I spent like $90 for this little critter. We have groundhogs here, but I can't hunt for them. See? I'm going to use this for a bowstring or 2, depending on how many I can get. Okay? I have to be careful because it's heavily salted. And the salt gets everywhere. But yeah, you'll see. I'm going to do this on video. So, Yuri Kurtz, thank you for the super chat. Is that a super chat? Or is that a member? I don't think it's a membership. Thank you very much. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I can like it. and put a heart on it. Yes? Yes. Awesome. Thank you very much. I hate getting little gritty salt pieces everywhere. Whatever you call them. I do a lot of note taking, and if I bump into something on underneath the piece of paper, it drives me nuts. If there's any little grit anywhere, it'll get under where I'm writing. It just like my pencil is a magnet for little crumbs. Let's see. I have to thank Patrick. I've learned a lot from you, and my napping has improved tremendously thanks to your amazing content. Thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate that. I'm glad you think it's useful. You should use a snapping turtleneck for a bowstring. It doesn't shrink or stretch. Snapping turtle. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure I can get someone to get me a snapping turtle. I never heard that one. I have to use that as a bowstring. There's a $sign in the rectangle box next to the typing space. You just push on that if you want to donate. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know how to do the super chats or donations, so thanks for that. I could just research all that and tell you how to give me money, but I never researched that stuff. I'm only 35, been napping for just a few years now. Wow. Yeah, you got a ways to go before you're an old timer. Never heard of snapping turtle. Interesting. Yeah, I never heard of that either. I've heard of deer, rawhide bowstrings, squirrel bowstrings, rawhide bowstrings. I've tried squirrel rawhide. It doesn't make a good bowstring with the squirrels from where I used to live in Texas. The rawhide of those squirrels is so weak you can just snap it with your hands like that. Let's see. And I've heard of groundhog mainly, and you leave the hair on. You only shave the hair off right where you're going to grab the string or in that area. Jesse, $10. Thank you very much. Let's celebrate the first super in a live stream. How do you celebrate? I don't know. It just says, let's celebrate. So, yeah, let's celebrate. That's a super chat. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Jesse. Let's see. Never heard of, okay. Ever heard of egg tanning hides? Yes, I have. I had nice results on a deer. Managed to keep the fur on for years now. Wow, that's good. That's the hard part, keeping the fur on. It all sheds a little bit. I've had rawhide that lasted a while with the fur on, but I've also had rawhide that got some kind of weird mold or something, and I've also had rawhides that got moth damage. I used to go collect rawhides from one deer processor, and I didn't keep them in the proper environment, I guess. So one of them became weird and the hair fell out. Another one had little bug holes in it. But for the most part, the rawhides that I had from deer were pretty good. And then I could make bowstrings. But the bowstrings from a deer hide come from the very back. Just long strips from the back of the deer. You know how you can cut a deer hide lengthwise, the long way? One bowstring from each half. So if you string it up and include the neck on the rawhide and let it dry, and then take it down and cut it in half, you can get one string from each side at least, right along the cut on the back. That's the strongest rawhide on the deer that I've, as far as I know. The belly rawhide on deer is not very strong. Thanks, Sherry. As always, thanks, Pat, for your help and expertise. Oh, you're very welcome. Horsehair string. I've tried horsehair. It stretches. It's a weird thing. I've tried horsehair once. It's really it's a kind of a pain to work with. It gets tangled easily. I would use it for fishing line and not a bowstring. Yeah. Did I try? I tried it. I did try it, and it stretched a lot. And I said, "This is not going to work." Either or I didn't make it right. I maybe didn't twist it tight enough, but the horsehair string will stretch. Now, a deer rawhide, no, yeah, a deer rawhide won't stretch that much, although it does stretch a little bit. The sinew, deer sinew, doesn't stretch at all in comparison. Might stretch a little bit. Yeah. David Rushing, you are the best something stick user by far. Some try to be like you, but no way. Good job. Love your work on small points. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, David. Check out Art by Ishi. Okay. There's a guy that goes by Art by Ishi. Oh, I know who he is. Mike Cook. He does most ridiculous narrow notches. Yeah, he's been doing narrow notches for a while. Mike Cook. Just the way it sounds. Cook. Mike Cook. Art of Ishi. Not Art by Ishi. Art of Ishi. Yeah, he does excellent nappings. He's a professional napper. He naps high-end pieces and a lot of times exotic materials. Much more high-end than my stuff. What finish do you use on your bow? I use a combination of pine tar and mineral oil. That's it. Yeah. Art of Ishi. Deer hair is hollow, so you can't expect it to stay. Yeah. It's hard to keep hair on the deer hides. And I noticed the elk hide, I only had one elk hide, and that one's shedding fur as well, or shedding hair as well. The other critters that I have, the raccoons and the otters and the stuff like that, the hair stays on very well. I have bobcat that's lasted for years. What else have I had? I have some hides right now that are case skin for quivers. I've got 2 raccoons and 1 otter. And I think I'm going to use the otter for an Ishi quiver reproduction. Will you ever get into blowguns if you have time? Even if I had time, I probably wouldn't. Why is that? Because there's a guy on Instagram, he's probably on YouTube as well, who does a lot of blowgun stuff that I probably would never, ever reach that level of proficiency. I might. If I had all the time in the world, I'd probably just focus on gathering data, going to museums and writing down all the dimensions. I'm not interested too much in shooting. I'm interested more in the data. Although I will do some shooting tests. I'm interested in the data from the shooting tests. Shooting for me is just tedious stuff. But I'm just the opposite of most people. Most people, they get tired of writing all the dimensions down and the weighing and all that. But I don't get tired of the data. I get tired of shooting and going to the target and messing with it and setting up the camera equipment and filming all the tests. That's the stuff that drives me insane. I deleted a ton of videos because I didn't get the tests like I wanted to do them in shooting. Yeah. I said, I'm just going to, no, not going to do it, but I will do it now that I've got a space here in the backyard. I can set up a target and have everything to stay set up so that I don't have to keep bringing it out, taking it back in, bringing it out. With the kids in the backyard, I used to have to make sure no one messed with it. And it was just a hassle to bring it in and out. And then I had to say, okay, nobody go in the backyard while I'm shooting. But Dad, no. Nobody go in the backyard when I'm shooting. But there they go, they sneak out. So yeah, I had to spend way too much time in the past trying to get shooting done. And then I didn't know anyone that had long distance capability for shooting, like a lawn that was 200 yards long or a pasture. I didn't know anyone with a pasture or a big old long property so I could shoot for distance. I like shooting for distance. I have a bobcat pelt that was passed down to me. My great grandmother tanned it in 1930-ish. The hair is still holding tight. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a long time. You must know how to store that also. We got like 2 minutes or 3 minutes left. I am going to cut it at 4. My email is back there. So Ed Gould put his email up there. Who is it? Someone says I'm a doppelganger from the 4th dimension, a gay doppelganger from the 4th dimension. Oh, that's his handle name. Okay. I thought that was your comment. That's what you named yourself? My goodness. It was stored in my grandmother's closet until recently. Your grandmother's closet must have a 4th dimension then. Because whenever I store something in one of my closets, it would dry out. Don's Upholstery and Spearfish is my little brother. Live free, hunt hard. Praise the Lord. Your friend Steel Crazy. Sweet. I'll give it a check out when I'm up that way. All righty. We're almost there. Peace, everybody. Yeah, exchange emails or ask questions before it's too late. I'm going to go offline here in a minute. See you later, Ed. The next live stream is Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Right? I did get that correct, I think. Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Have you gone to Rabbit Stick? Nope, have not gone to Rabbit Stick. Payment coming. All right, thanks, Ed. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I've got your stuff right here, Ed. I'm going to box it up. Is it time yet? I got 2 different times here. We'll stay on another couple of minutes because it says that I've only been on the live stream an hour and 58 minutes. But I look at my clock up there and I've already gone 1 minute past. But yeah, I'll end it. All right, guys. Yeah, Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, is the next live stream. I'm doing one every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They're at different times. No. Yeah, Monday from 6 to 8 p.m., Wednesday from 2 to 4 p.m., and Friday from 8 to 10 p.m. All right? Nice live stream, Pat. Thank you very much. All right. See you later, guys. See you on the next video.